Welcome back, everybody, to College Hockey Mouth, a College Hockey South podcast. This is episode 26. Freedom intensifies. Time of this, the United States just won in overtime over Sweden. Danny Bohm, Devin Serra with you. By golly, I'll just start off by saying it this way, Dylan Larkin, Captain America, should be Team USA captain, whatever. Austin Matthews is cool. Lucas Raymond was the best player for Sweden today. Absolutely all the respect to the Swedes in a hard-fought game. But Danny, play Freebird. It was our day.
Exactly. Yeah. Wait, did the USA play today? Did they play a hockey game? Because I just dress like this normally. No, yeah. It was a really good day of hockey all around. Trying to get in work around around the hockey games that were being played was really difficult. But you know what? I was thinking about, and I dropped it in one of our group chats. Man, it sucks not to have the Russian team in there because man, it would have made it so much better. All those just thinking about the Kucherovs, the Kaprizovs, Vasilevsky, Zadorov, just knocking dudes around. Oh my God, that would have been incredible. But yeah, USA comes out on top, almost lost, just like Canada, which was nuts. Did you see the go-ahead goal that Czechia had? They had 6 players out on the ice for like 50 seconds.
I did. Yeah, Andre Palat scoring there. Just a weird deal. I don't know how you missed that. Now, granted, you're going to hear this on Friday, I believe. So, by this time, it'll be the women's gold medal game and the semifinals. But yeah, just like an insane day. Like Finland had to come from behind, final 2 minutes to win overtime. Canada, the US, like definitely the Olympics have lived up to the hype. I'm so glad the NHL decided to send their players. Unfortunate, we've had some injuries. Eriksson, I think, got a little banged up in the USA Sweden game.
Brutal.
But
Sid?
Yeah, I know. Sidney Crosby. How could we?
Sid
Yeah,
did not look good.
No, not at all. And I'm forgetting the player's name that's on the LA Kings that also got hurt for, I think it was Switzerland. Just yeah, not good to see.
Kevin Fiala. Yeah, and they put him face down on the stretcher. Like, what are you doing?
That's just how they do it in Europe, man. You can't judge it. They're the experts. But me personally, I'm just happy that we got some great hockey and some more coming. Silliness aside, and I'll take off my freedom shades here. Got to protect myself from the
I've done my civic patriotic duty by wearing this for 2 minutes.
Yeah, you're burning up,
starting
dude.
to sweat, so
I don't blame you. Yeah, if you want to undress, do your thing over there. But we've got a really just had to do it, didn't you? Well, on this edition of College Hockey Mouth, we're going to talk to one of the pioneers and trailblazers in the women's division. She is the captain for the South Carolina women's team and has been a leader for them of their program. Please welcome junior captain Alyssa Nardslico. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Danny organized this thing real well. Shout out to him for being the South Carolina alum. So you got that connection. But aside from the hockey, just tell us about kind of your upbringing and what led you into hockey and all of what you do in your playing career now.
So I am from New York, and obviously it's a big hockey state. I grew up playing hockey. I started playing hockey when I was about 5 years old. So I've been in the world of hockey for a very, very long time. My brother played hockey, so it was just kind of how I was raised, how it was kind of expected to play hockey. But I started playing on an all-boys team, and then that ended real quick. And then I ended up playing for my club team, the Syracuse Valley Eagles, for like 10 years. We were pretty successful with that team. That team was so fun. I played high school hockey too, and then now I'm here. It's been a wild ride.
Yeah, and I don't want to take us off track here, Devin, but I understand it was your 21st birthday.
Oh my God.
Was it about a week ago?
Yeah, it was on Sunday. So
Sunday, okay. And I have a couple of inside sources in the team. I'm not going to reveal who they are, but you made a trip out to Nashville for your birthday.
I did.
How was that?
Oh my gosh, it was so fun. Me and my teammate visited my friend Anna. We visited our friend Morgan, who lives in Nashville, who used to be on the team too. So it was really fun.
Nashville, yeah, one of my favorite cities. I hope you got the chance to go to Jason Aldean's rooftop bar. That place is so sick. Quite the place to watch hockey too now with the Preds. So, for growing up, and that's a long time to be with the same program. You said, I think Syracuse Valley, like 10 seasons, playing for an established program like that. What was it like having that team already available? And, as you grew up in high school and did other sports, like how did that develop you as a person and a player?
So the Syracuse Eagles really wasn't available at the time. We were with my hometown team called the Rome Grizzlies, and we just kind of outgrew them. It was like a co-ed team when I was growing up. So like when you were younger, it's kind of okay, but once you get older, like as a girl, you're not like getting into hitting and stuff like that. So we kind of like made that team from the ground up. There was when I started, there was a 14U team and a 12U team for AAA hockey girls. And we were kind of there was like a boys team for Syracuse Valley, but we were kind of the only girls that, were like AAA, and we were really getting in there. So that was really cool to have that kind of outlet where I could have, played hockey at a high level. And it was all thanks to, my teammates and their parents and my parents. And it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for all of us coming together. Our club team consisted of girls like all over New York. I think we had girls from like Buffalo, Syracuse, Rochester. Like there were girls from everywhere. So it was really cool to be able to play with like those girls. And my high school team was also kind of a rap team. So it wasn't just like girls from my high school. It was girls from like high schools in the surrounding areas. So that was cool to be able to like meet a bunch of new girls and play with a bunch of new faces and meet all these people. And I'm very fortunate to grow up where I grew up and, have the hockey outlet that I did.
Yeah, and you weren't just exclusive to hockey though. You played multiple different sports in high school, right? You played field hockey and lacrosse.
I did. Yeah, I did. I was busy as a kid.
Yeah,
So
sounds like it.
yeah,
Yeah, and you were named team captain for all three.
I was. Yeah, it
Yeah, so
was.
I mean, it must have been just like a natural. You weren't team captain for South Carolina the first 2 years of the program, but it was probably like a natural transition to get back and have the C on your jersey. No?
Yeah. I mean, I was assistant captain for the past 2 years, so I kind of was helping out here and there, but yeah, I just like helping people out whenever I can and just being selfless because I like grew up in a team situation, so I kind of like know what it takes to be a teammate and really be there. And I like to think that I'm there for my teammates. So yeah, it's fun to be able to be that person that people can lean on for sure.
It's cool to hear about your diversified portfolio. And from our research team, you continue to play field hockey at the club level at USC. So tell us about the support your team gets from the organizations that oversee the clubs and how that all kind of translates with what you have to do as a leader for that.
Yeah. So since we are like just starting out, we have been established for like 3 years, but 3 years really isn't that long of a time if you really think about it. It's still kind of hard to like dip our toes into the water and like really establish ourselves. So we have been trying to, reach out to a bunch of other teams and see like if they want to do stuff together. And everyone is so supportive. Also, like all the other teams are kind of in the same boat. Like we're all just club teams. So we do like to support each other, and that is really helpful. And a bunch of the girls on other teams and some of the people on the other sports teams, try and like help us out in any way that they could. And the school is so nice about it too. We don't really get a lot of funding, which is not surprising. I feel like a lot of club teams don't get a lot of funding, but they do really help us with everything that we need. And it's really nice to have that kind of support system to help us through.
Yeah, and I, I love asking this question, but it means more to me because I went to Carolina as well. What went into your decision of picking South Carolina from you're all the way up there, damn near Canada, and you decided to come to South Carolina?
So I had the decision of either like staying up in New York and playing hockey there and going to a D3 school, or I could have came down here and went to a big like SEC school and had that experience, but not played hockey at that level. And I was really stuck on that for like a really long time. I just really had no idea what to do, and I ultimately ended up coming to South Carolina and like making that decision where I could still play hockey and I'm still getting the experience of the big school and everything that it has to offer. And also my brother went to school here. He played hockey here too. So
Uh,
that was like a big decision for me.
yeah, and so like you mentioned, they didn't have a team down here when you decided to make your decision. How hands-on were you in that process of getting the team started and going to the school and getting everything, getting the ball rolling with that?
So I remember like when I was applying to colleges, my mom sent me like the South Carolina women's hockey like Facebook post, and they were like, "We're starting a team," and my mom was like, "Holy, like look at this, like this is crazy."
Mhm.
I was like, "Oh my god, that is kind of crazy." And I didn't really like do any of like the establishing stuff like with the school and everything because they were already doing it in like 2022, which is the year before I came to college. But the the co-founder of the team reached out to me and was like, "Hey, do you want to be like a part of the team and like have a say and stuff?" And I was like, "Sure. Like why not? I like love hockey, so why not?"
Mhm.
So I remember like coming to school and like trying to figure out, practice slots just because that rink is just crazy here. There's not a lot of practice slots. So we were trying to figure out like ice times and games and refs. And it's definitely hard to navigate when you really have like never done it before. You have no idea what you're doing. But I think like when we all worked together, we did like reach out to other teams and schedule games. And it was a lot, but it was really fun.
It's not very typical you see that kind of arrangement, but I mean, you guys make it work with all the different resources, all the things you have available. I want to go back and not something commonly do, but we do have a note that you won a national tournament with your club team out in California. Can you tell us about kind of that experience and what that whole event looked like for you?
Yeah, that was like a once in a lifetime thing. I loved those girls so much, and those girls are so successful on that team and they've all gone off and done great things. We were playing together for like ever. That was my Syracuse Valley team, and we were all playing together for so long, and we were at AAA the whole time, and every single time we got to the state finals, Bishop Kearney beat us every single year. And we were like, all right, this is our last year. We dropped down to tier 2 and we like declared tier 2, and but we played like a tier 1 schedule still, so we were still playing like all these good girls and still getting that practice in, and then we ended up winning states, and we went undefeated in states, which was so awesome. I actually, fun fact, I got into a little bit of a fight in the state final championships, but
Yeah. How'd that go?
it was we were winning like so much to so little, and this one girl like cross-checked my teammate in the back and the game was over. And I was like, "Wait a minute." So I went over there and I said some choice words and told her that that wasn't okay, but that's besides the point.
You did what you had to do, is what
Exactly.
is
I
what it
did what
sounds
I had
like.
to do. Exactly. But
See, that's what a proud Carolina Gamecock does, Devin.
exactly. But
There is no
after that
backing down,
we
right? Go ahead. Yeah.
exactly. But then we went to California for nationals, which was crazy in and of itself. We flew across the entire country. And that was crazy. We were playing in like the Ducks facility, and yeah, it was so cool. Yeah.
Unreal. Yeah, I've never been out to California that far, but to play at that kind of facility is a real eye-opening experience. Like, when you do a tournament at like I've been to like the St. Louis Blues facility, that's where Nationals is. It's such an incredible ordeal and the connections you make. You've won a lot of big games. One we saw is that you guys beat Clemson in the first ever Palmetto Cup. So this is just in your DNA. Like, tell us about getting to play some of these early rivalry games in your college career and what's that experience been like?
Yeah, it's been really cool just as a team to kind of experience all these cool games and doing stuff for the first time as a team. When we first figured out there's a Clemson team, we were like, "Oh my god, like this is so cool. Like we cannot wait to play them. It's going to be so awesome." But the Clemson game was at 10 p.m., so that was something, but what are you going to do? It's women's hockey in the South, so we overcame that, but that game, it was close. It was close. We almost lost, to be honest, but we overcame.
We were watching.
Oh
We
yeah,
were
I'm
watching.
sure. Yeah, it was crazy. But we play them again actually this weekend, so hopefully we'll see. That'll be the real test for 2 games.
But yeah, I got you on this week for a reason. I knew what was coming up. I've talked to enough Clemson and Florida people and Alabama. Is like, come on, guys, let's even it out here a little bit.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, that was something that was Devin can attest, something that I've been talking about for a while, and seeing how successful Clemson was in the early going just added another layer of excitement to it. And the game had stakes, which is awesome. And, it could potentially be, a team you see in the playoffs.
Hopefully. hopefully we'll see them again. I think we're ready.
Well, we're excited to see that. One of those things about like a playoff tournament is the unpredictability. But I mean, you guys have been like a mainstay in your program for so long now. I feel like you're up there with like the Alabama and Tampa as far as like status of programs within this women's division. I guess some things we want to ask a little more on the lighter side was, after some research, we found that you like to use a Blackstone grill. I guess a quote we had is, "My Blackstone makes restaurant chefs nervous," on USC's website. Can you kind of elaborate your affection for the Blackstone grill?
All right. So basically, I was like shopping with my dad, and I found a Blackstone that was like a travel size one, and it was like really cheap. And I was like, how funny would this be if I just like bought a Blackstone and I just like started cooking on it? But I don't know. I brought it to a lot of like team bonding, and my friend Anna, my teammate Anna, bought us chef hats. So I just look like an idiot, like cooking, like hot dogs and crap on like the Blackstone, like for my team and stuff. But yeah.
Man, that was disappointing. I was really hoping you were going to be like, oh yeah, like I'm like a pro, and I like chef up for my teammates we're on the long bus rides, and I'm just back there chefing it up.
Well,
Yeah,
I
but
mean, I
what's the
never said I
meal?
wasn't like a chef. Like I do chef it up on the Blackstone, but
Well, what's the
Okay,
what's the go-to meal? We
listen.
got to know what are you making on the Blackstone that is like your S tier, like 5-star gourmet ingredient?
I would have to say either hot dogs, because literally everyone loves hot dogs, or grilled chicken. I like to keep it simple. I'm a simple person. I'm a straightforward person, so I got to go with that.
Okay, well, you mentioned team bonding. I would be beside myself if I didn't bring this up, but at All Star last year at the skills competition, you had by far the best shootout attempt in the like whatever shootout competition. Devin, her and all of her teammates lined up in like a offensive line and went out for like they were gonna run a pass, but she took off her hockey jersey and underneath had a Jadavian Clowney jersey on. And I was in the penalty box. I was going nuts. And if I swear to God, if you didn't get tens across the board, I was gonna hop over the glass. Like I was like, that is a perfect score. Like whose idea was that? How were your teammates excited? What went into that whole thing?
All right. I actually had like no idea what I was going to do. And I knew I wanted to do something like funny and also like that involved all of my teammates. So I was like, all right. And I just brought a bunch of crap from home, or like a bunch of stuff that I could use. And I brought my jersey, and I was sitting in the hotel room, and I was like, wait a minute. What if we like did like a football type formation lineup thing, and like we snapped the puck, and it was just, we literally practiced it once in the locker room. And I was like, all right, guys, like this is what we're doing. Like we're going to practice it once. And we practiced it once, and it was, I won't even lie, it looked so bad in the locker room. Like it was so bad. And we went out on the ice, and we were like, all right, we just got to do it. Like we just have to do it. And it couldn't have worked out any better. Like it couldn't have worked out any better. I'm so proud of all those girls for doing it, because it was so funny. Like it was so good. It was so good.
I would be a 10 out of 10 on the judging category for talent competition. I think we gotta introduce it again at playoff or All Stars in Nashville. Awesome. Hey, I guess, can you tell us a bit about like actually I'll leave this to Danny. Can you tell us about the jerseys, Danny? You had a lot of stuff on this.
Oh yeah. So hold on, because I saw the new jerseys at Columbus, and I was so excited because the front has my favorite Carolina logo, which is actually on my shirt here. I came prepared tenfold, Devin. Not just the Johnny Gaudreau jersey, but Caroline and the script. How involved were you in that? Because 10 out of 10, top marks. Those are fantastic. The white jerseys.
Thank you. They are really cool. We like knew we needed a new white jersey, because our old white jersey wasn't the best. So we were like, all right, let's get a new one in there, see what's going on. We knew we wanted like the script like across the front, but we really didn't know like what we were gonna do. We kind of got we got a bunch of like mock ups back, and we kind of chose from that. But yeah, they're sick. We're so happy with how they came out, and they look so good on the ice. So yeah, they're really cool.
I like that too, and you try to make it look a lot on par of like what the M3 team does, what M2 does, and those teams have synonymous brands. I know what you mean by the upgrade. I think you guys had like something that was a little bit like, you got it off like a third party and it had like the star and the logo, but this is top notch, one of the best jerseys in women's hockey. Now, as far as like your program, like things that are building, you guys, I think we're like one of the first teams that were like ranked among the women. So, what is kind of your guys' trajectory? Like, how were things just within building for the future? Your coaching, recruiting, like what are the things that are going into that process?
I mean, we're really just trying to build a strong foundation just so we can, get a little bit more footing and get more established. And it is so cool that we've been ranked and, we have been doing good these past couple seasons, but we want to, do better than that. So we've been trying to build a foundation and really just trying to nail it in and like get some girls coming out. We did a prospect skate last year, which was really cool to see. A couple girls went out. Actually, one of our teammates that went to the prospect skate is a freshman this year on the team. So that's really cool to see.
There you go.
We have girls like reaching out to our email and texting us and doing what they can to, kind of be recruited. And we love that. Like we appreciate that so much. And it's not like a typical, NCAA hockey where you're like getting recruited by the coaches, but we're trying to get it at that level. It's kind of hard, but yeah.
Yeah, so there's a side to club hockey that I've kind of seen it more of it this semester than, kind of semesters past is, you've seen a lot of players that are studying abroad and it's like, oh, well, this player hasn't played for a while. It's like, oh yeah, they're actually in Barcelona or they're this place or that place. You didn't play in the Columbus Classic because you were busy. You were doing it was some kind of event, right? And you've done PGA events in the past.
Yeah, I was at the Ryder Cup in New York. So
Damn, yeah, that's cool.
yeah, I was a little upset, I won't lie, that I didn't get to play in that tournament just because it's hard to travel like during the regular season to play all these different teams, and then when we have like the tournaments, that's when we get to play them. So that was a little upsetting, but it's okay.
Yeah, I think it worked out. Are you a big golfer?
I dabble. I dabble for sure.
Dabble. Okay. I think I dabble too.
What don't you do? Like we've been all over the place. You play like 5 different sports. You travel the freaking PGA events. Like, is there something about you that people wouldn't normally know? Like a fun fact?
One of my fun facts, actually, this is kind of weird. I put my shin
Perfect.
guards on. Like when I get dressed with like my equipment, I put my shin guards on last. Like I know that's weird, but like I just put them on last.
What? So
Did you ever
like, is
forget
that
them?
by like?
No.
Yeah, like was it like something like at first you're just like, oh shoot, I'm about to go on the ice, don't have them, or is it comfort? Like, where did that start?
So it's like, well, like you know how people like tuck their tongues underneath their shin guards, obviously.
Yeah.
So when I do it, I like just like don't put on my shin guards and then I put on my skates and then I would put them on like over my tongue. But then when I started to get dressed, I just like didn't put them on and then I just like put my like chest protector on and stuff and like my elbow pads and then my jersey. And I would sit there just like with my socks rolled up, like with no shin guards on. And everyone would just be like, "You look like an idiot." And I'm like, I don't know. It's comfortable. I don't know what to tell you.
That is a first. I don't think I've ever heard that from someone, but I love that. I'm really a fan of this. Well, hey, superstition adore. I mean, you've done really well for your team. Coming up for playoffs, so much of the talk we do on this pod is like who's hot, who's not. You guys are right in the thick of teams that could win this thing. So just how excited are you to get to playoffs? And, what are some of the things about your team that make you guys in a position to succeed?
We are so excited. I think at all of our practices are 11 p.m. So like we're dragging a little, but like towards the end of it, we're all just like, holy, like we're so close to playoffs. This is going to be so cool. Like it's going to be so fun. We're very excited to see where we, line up with the Tampa and Alabama and Clemson and just all of them. We're very excited to, not count on any teams obviously, but see where we line up with everyone. I think our biggest strength in terms of like winning is kind of the depth and the diversity we have. I think all of our girls are like good in their own specific way. Like all of our girls have skill. So I think that's what, gives us depth. We can have, our third line out there and we can still play against the number one line on the other team. So I think that's what kind of helps us a lot. Also, Mackenzie, our goalie, she's a brick wall. So it's, she's saved our butts so many times, but yeah, we have a lot of depth and we've gotten closer together as a team in the spring. So it's going to be really fun to see, and really fun to see like where we end up in playoffs for sure.
Yeah, so this will be the last one for me, Devin. What is the strangest way, possibly the worst way you've heard someone pronounce your last name? And was it over the PA when you were getting announced for the starting lineup, or was it like first day of school?
I've had two instances. I think the first one, I was literally in like kindergarten, and my teacher called me Nardslico. I was like, it's a disco it is. But the more recent time, it was playoffs my first year, my freshman year, which was 2 years ago. We were playing Georgia, and I was like, we won that game, and I was rewatching the film, and the announcer pronounced my name Nardslico, and they said it. I forget who it was. I forget who it was, but I think they said it like 10 times in a row, and they were just like, Nardslico with the pass, and I was me and my teammates were like, oh my god, like this is so funny.
So that's a really tall I there. Wait a minute. Wait, is that an L?
Yeah,
no, I don't think so.
Yeah, you say it one way, and I'm guilty of this. You say it one way, and then you just get stuck on that, and it's you don't even mean to. So maybe I'm giving the benefit of the doubt. Nardslico. See, I had to think about it for just a second. It's unique, but you got it there. Hey, awesome interview. Last thing we'll leave you with is, what would you say to a prospective player, somebody that's looking at South Carolina women's hockey, joining your program? What is it about you guys that makes you special and a great place to play and go to school?
I think it's just like the community we have and what we, kind of bring to the table with how close we are as a team. Some of my best friends I've made from that team, and I don't know what I would do without that team. I think that's kind of a huge selling point. You're not going to want to join a team if the girls kind of suck, but we just have a really good community, and our coach loves us, and we love our coach. And just also literally today we were out tanning. So like, if you really want to come to South Carolina, like it's great weather. So like, that's also another selling point. So
yeah,
as
you know what, Devin,
in Florida, that always sells. But yeah, Danny.
I'll take up for my Carolina people. If you want to know how much they enjoy playing with each other, look at that video of them doing the football thing on ice. Like, you can tell how much they just enjoy being with each other, and it was a blast. Like, it, you don't have to take our word for it. You can see it. So yeah, top marks to you. You're in DHS women's division. I don't know if you know this, but coming into the season, you were the third leading scorer in all time.
Wow, I did not know that. That's pretty cool.
And the most points per game too.
Wow.
I guess we were lucky to get you on here.
Well, thank you guys for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you, and good luck at playoffs. Hopefully we cross paths, and just keep bringing the fun. You guys are having a great season. We look forward to talking about you in the future.
Yeah, of course. I hope to see you guys too. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks to Alyssa Nardslico for joining the podcast. A very, very fun personality, and look forward to seeing how Clemson does in the playoffs coming up.
Excuse me.
Weekend.
You just had a Freudian slip of all time, and I cannot let this go. You just said we've got to see how Clemson is going to do in the playoff, Gavin.
Did I just say Clemson? Did I just say Clemson? There's no way. Nah, dude, that's no way. Gavin, help me out, brother.
We're going to see how Clemson does in the playoffs, but Alyssa Nardslico, the proud captain of the South Carolina Gamecocks, the premier university in the state of South Carolina. Thank you very much.
Wow, that's brutal. Well, I guess I'll just redo that and start from here. Thanks to Alyssa Nardslico. No, man.
No,
you just won't let me off the hook, man.
Let's get the game recaps, Devin. This is episode 26 of the podcast.
Damn it.
We don't have to.
This is like a mulligan in golf where you're going to give me like 2 or 3 and I still can't figure it out. I still can't get off the tee right. Well, with that shank, we're going to roll into our game recaps. Last regular season week that has major implications. This was the M3 and ACDC side that determined seeding, and Embry-Riddle and Florida Tech were fighting for the 3 seed behind Jacksonville and Florida. Embry-Riddle won the game of the week 7-4 and securing the number 3 seed. Boy, this one was in back and forth, just a wild kind of game. Danny, you had the chance to follow this one along on the social media. And from what I can tell, it seemed like early Florida Tech was going to get their things going. They had a power play goal from Santino Chancio, and then Embry-Riddle just took over the rest of the first period. Florida Tech tried to answer in the second. They really couldn't, and you're kind of just seeing the effect of not having maybe their best player, Braden Curry. Credit, though, to Embry-Riddle. They got it done with the 7-4 dub.
Yeah, they also didn't have their all-time leading scorer, Derek Morgia, in the lineup, which was obviously very crippling. Yeah, it kind of just looked like Florida Tech ran out of gas towards the end. They were able to tie the game in the third period, but the top talent of Embry-Riddle kind of eclipsed that of Florida Tech. Nick Bowers, Andy Coleman, these guys have been at the top of the leaderboards for every single offensive category in the division. And they took care of business night one to take third place over, and then they nailed it down in game two, with the series shifting up to the Space Coast Iceplex. Okay, Mr. Cool Guy takes his sunglasses off.
I can't do it anymore.
he's
I
big
can't
time.
go the whole podcast. I'm not allowed to have the cool points anymore. I just had the Freudian slip of the century. So, I mean, I can't look like a jackhammer anymore. But continue.
No, I mean that's about it, and it was status quo for Embry-Riddle. The top players contributed and pushed them over the top, and they're going to be the 3 seed facing off against Florida State, and Florida Tech will be facing South Florida in the first round. So we'll have a couple of quarterfinal games that will decide who plays Jacksonville and University of Florida, who received byes to the semifinals and would have to be the proverbial favorites. I think we discussed it at one point that it seemed like it was going to be Florida State and Florida, like a collision course, but Jacksonville with their spring semester, man, it's hard to see anyone beating them right now.
I do think, though, that 6 seed Florida State team, in my mind, is one of the favorites. Like, they're a low seed, but they haven't played the most games. And you think about how they performed in Savannah. They're just an experienced bunch. They've got older guys. I still wouldn't count them out, and I think that's a tough draw for Embry-Riddle. You almost didn't want to win the game of the week, we were joking, because now you have to face that team. So congrats to Embry-Riddle, though, 3 seed, and Florida Tech on a great one. Some other matchups we were watching, Vanderbilt took on Tennessee in a thriller. The Vols won game 1 6-5, despite the late rally attempt from Vandy. Some notable guys we saw: Liam Baxter, goal and 2 assists for the Commodores. And then in game 2, it was a 5-4 shootout win for Tennessee. Liam Baxter had the hat trick in that one. Chris Free for Tennessee, 2 goals and 2 apples. Vandy was fighting for that last spot among Miami, Lynn, Kennesaw State in the mix. And I think with this being as close a result, they just about stamped their spot at the playoffs.
Well, yeah, and we might as well skip ahead to Lynn, because I believe the last spot will come down to either Vanderbilt or Lynn at this point, and it creates a very interesting debate. And I think we're both in agreement on who should or maybe will get the last spot. It's almost a little unfortunate, so we get to have the debate. But Vanderbilt's close losses against Lynn, playing perhaps some of the lower third teams in the division and beating them. Vanderbilt's had close losses against Middle Tennessee, against South Carolina, now to Tennessee. They had a win against Clemson. It was their only win in M3. So, I mean, that's a tough stat to have, that you have one win across the entire ACHA Division 3. Lynn has way more than that, but they're against teams that are in, the bottom third of the rankings for the entire country. What do you value? Is it the quantity or the quality?
It's the same argument that Alabama has going for them, where they've played the toughest teams in the conference. Clemson, they had the win against. Middle Tennessee was early on. It seems like every team that's played Middle Tennessee and has kept it somewhat close in a loss, like they did, 3 goals or more, or 3 goals or less, has gotten benefit of the doubt in the rankings. That's why I believe their win against Clemson put them over the edge. This definitely will, because it's by 1 goal, and that shootout technically goes down as a tie. And how the ACHA
Exactly.
values ties is almost as good as a win when you play a team that's higher ranked than you. And at the moment, Tennessee is firmly in the playoff spot. I think they're somewhere around that 6 or 7 spot. We'll have to look at our updated standings in a moment. But yeah, it'd be tough. Lynn, they had a good win against Florida Atlantic in the Battle of Boca, 8-1. I just don't think they have the strength of schedule beating Florida Atlantic and Miami in those ways. So a very interesting point is the next game we have, Kennesaw State and South Carolina. Danny, I mean, what the heck? Kennesaw State, It's 5-1 and 5-2 wins over a South Carolina team that we were just debating a week ago before when they split with Middle Tennessee could be the best team in the conference. Out of nowhere, the Owls have now put themselves on the map.
Oh yeah, yeah. They've had one of a few teams that have come out of nowhere. The likes of Jacksonville and ACDC in Florida and Division II that have had tremendous spring semesters and have, shifted the opinion on what they can do in the postseason. Where if we were to have this conversation in December or November, it would be like, well, it's probably an achievement just for them to get there. Whereas now it's like, I don't know if you want to play these guys. They might be more than just a tough out. They might take down a top team. A 5-1 and 5-2 against a top 10 South Carolina team who's now lost three in a row after winning however many in a row to start their program's history. It was a bunch. Three in a row, and they play a tough Clemson team next week or this upcoming weekend before playoffs. So they very well could be looking at entering playoffs on a 4-game losing streak, which is not, I don't think you want to feel those vibes in the locker room.
People would look at this and go, how does this happen? So in game one, Evan Pritchard saved 54 of 55 shots. So it's not like the Gamecocks were without the firepower. We know how good Joey Brochu's system is with that team. This is a new goaltender that's sort of shown up, quote unquote, out of nowhere, second semester edition, product of the Atlanta Fire AA program. We were talking about for a lot of the tenure, Nikolai Dunn, who's a really good goaltender in his own right. But the addition of him and a few others has really flipped this program over. I mean, Jonathan Shaw at defense has given them stuff. Cooper Lundberg, unreal how just a few guys you add in the second semester makes a huge difference. So I feel like that's just bolstered guys like Christian Sousa, who had a really good game two when they finished it 5-2. A tally and 3 assists for James Kravis. Shaw, we just mentioned, a goal and 2 assists. 49 of 51. So just kind of a generational weekend for this netminder. Yeah, Kennesaw State right now in a really deep M3 field already. It's going to be one to watch here in about a week's time from Coral Springs.
Yeah, and you consider if it's Vandy that ends up making it, and it very well could be Lynn. I don't want to rule out that possibility. Don't want to write them off. But if it's Vandy, we talked about how competitive they've been, but you think about the possibilities of who they could be playing. So they would probably be the 12 seed Vandy, right? So they would be playing one of Tampa, South Carolina, Gulf Coast, or Clemson. Clemson, who they just beat 6-2, I think it was. We could have upsets all over the map. These top seeds could go down and before we even get to the quarterfinals.
What's important too to note is this isn't confirmed but to our knowledge, there is a potential auto bid on the line. It's not confirmed. There's a little bit of qualifications that have to be met. If you win this conference, there is a chance that you go to nationals. Now, that's not to say that will happen if you're a lower seed, but there is still everything to play for, regardless of your standing, regardless of the season you've had up to this point. If you're in this field, there's something that could loom. And I think teams should be conscious of that when they go through this. Regardless, I think, Kennesaw State, you got to watch out for these guys. Huge wins over South Carolina, one of the perennial nationals teams. I think they're hopefully now all but in still. I mean, this would be a tough one just to knock them completely out of contention after such a good series with Middle Tennessee a week prior. On the women's side, Alabama took on High Point, and the Panthers got the sweep 4-3 and 9-4. Some really good performances. Anna Zahorchik, 2 apples. Claire Carson with a goal here, as well as Grozbalski with 2. Just a really good High Point team that is right now ranked in Women's Division II. Alabama's firmly in the playoff position, and we're going to see them in a week's time as well, probably competing for the championship in that field.
Stumbling though, Devin. Stumbling. Just like South Carolina, and to an extent, if you want to look at, Tampa Division II. We've got some powers that are, defending champions that are stumbling towards the playoffs.
I almost think, though, that if you play better teams and you face adversity, it helps you in a way. You kind of figure out some parts that maybe you were confident about and need to go back and re-hone on. The way we know Alabama is that they have depth and they can score on many different lines. And maybe that's just the kind of kick that they need to get ready for a playoff like this. That's the optimistic side. You never want to go into playoffs maybe losing. However, I think High Point's a pretty good program and certainly something to watch for Alabama there as we enter playoffs. ACHA Men's Division 2, we've got some previews in just a little bit, but all three teams made it into the Southeast Regional. Tampa, Florida Atlantic, and the Gators from Gainesville, Florida, are all going to Cincinnati, Ohio in this weekend's matchups. We're going to preview those for you in just a bit, but some things to think about. They're all going to face, well, at least two of the three TSCHL teams. A former Nationals matchup with Tampa and Georgia looms. They might be facing one of the scariest teams. I do not want to play this Bulldog team right now. Owls are going to face the conference playoff runner-up from the TSCHL, the Miami Redhawks. And Florida has a date with the Ohio State Buckeyes. We're having a program year up there in Ohio. But as far as our playoff updates, the women's field is set. Tampa, Florida, USF from the South, the Crimson Tide, the Frozen Tide, Alabama, South Carolina, and Clemson. Sorry to Alyssa Nardslico for earlier. I guess we're running with this Freudian part of me. Auburn and Georgia from the North wrap up this field. Very, very, very interesting the way that Danny's talking about some teams facing adversity coming in. And then on the M3 side, the picture became a lot more clear that we referred to. Number 1, Middle Tennessee, still riding high as a super wagon. USF with their all-stars and Grant Dietz, Maxwell Mudge are riding high. South Carolina, bit of a hiccup. We still think that they are a wagon as well. Tampa has been on the cusp of the top 16 that make nationals. They might just need to win their conference now to guarantee a spot into the field there in St. Louis. Clemson right behind them, won't go to nationals regardless of what happens. They, though, are the 5th team right now in the standings. Florida Gulf Coast, lockdown defensive stalwart in the 6th spot. Alabama with Luke Haggard, who we talked to on the last episode, at the 7th seed. Embry-Riddle, Bob Joyce's squad, right there at number 48 in the country. Tennessee at the 9th spot. UCF off of a very impressive weekend against M2 Florida Atlantic, which, by the way, we kind of skipped over in the game recaps, but very, very impressive weekend for them. I really thought that Joseph Dre, their captain, was a vocal leader. He blocked shots. They're going to be a tough out, whoever has to face them in this playoff field. Right behind them, Kennesaw State, we just talked to, over those huge upsets with South Carolina. And at the moment of this recording, Miami was on the cut line. But when you listen to this, be sure to check the M3 standings at achahockey.org because you're likely going to see some shifting. Vanderbilt is below the cut line at 13, number 61. That's going to change. Lynn was behind them at 71. Then Florida Atlantic in the 15th spot. Ole Miss, Florida Southern, and finally Austin P bringing up the rear of M3 College Hockey South. In ACDC, that field is set. Number 1 seed Florida, number 2 Jacksonville will have byes to the semifinals. Embry-Riddle, Florida Tech, USF, and the Florida State Seminoles will all do battle in the quarterfinals, which is day 2, technically, of playoffs. So Friday, you can expect those games in Coral Springs. Now, Danny, let's break down on College Hockey South today the M2 Regional for our 3 College Hockey South teams. And we've got a laundry list of notes here just to kind of give you some more insight on exactly who these teams are playing. If you haven't been following the ACHA at large, the Southeast region, very competitive. All 16 teams from this region have to win 2 games in order to advance to the national tournament in St. Louis, Missouri, Centene Community Ice Center. A new year, a new league, a new year, new opportunity. Let's kick it off with Tampa and Georgia. This is the first game of the day, 9 a.m. Eastern on Saturday at the Queen City Sportsplex. Danny, you can attest to all the history. I know you've extensively talked on this podcast, off air, all about the encyclopedia that is Tampa Spartan hockey. Why is Georgia such an intriguing matchup, number 2 seed versus number 15 seed?
Well, there's a familiarity. This is the first year in however long this is a non-conference game. So it's like, if you want to use a college football analogy, it's like Texas playing Texas Tech. Maybe not that heated, but these teams have a history. They don't like each other for sure. I know that Tampa doesn't really make a lot of friends when they play teams. But I will say this, not having an abundance of knowledge of the teams that our CHS teams will be playing against, I will just comment on what I think our teams will need, I would say our CHS teams will need to do to be victorious. Tampa's got to stay out of the box. We've seen them in their game of the weeks or wherever else we're following them. It seems to fall apart when, they start taking penalties and, there's a parade to the penalty box and guys start getting twos and tens. Matter of fact, Alex Moeller, I'm pretty sure, will be suspended for this game because of a DQ he had in the final game against FAU. So even more so, they're going to have to be next man up and, gotta lock in the same way they did at the end of last year because they really hit another level once it got to the postseason. Cleaner hockey, more 5-on-5, better defense all around.
I think you could say that for just about all three of the College Hockey South teams. Florida Atlantic and Tampa had a heated series, two teams that bitterly dislike each other. You just hope people would stay safe and not get shenanigans. But as you mentioned, that's sort of the story there for them. One of their leading scorers, Alex Mueller, really top three in scoring, but they do have the depth and they are back to relatively a healthy group. Food for thought is that Tampa beat this Georgia team final day of pool play 3-2. This Spartan team also faced them in the College Hockey South championship game. Absolutely dominated, 7-1 victory. And the story in that game was Tampa's speed versus Georgia's structured play. Danny Griffin, Cole Valise, familiar names to the Tampa program, big contributors in that tournament. You can probably expect them to be the guys to look for in the same thing here. On Georgia's side of things, they come in as probably the best SEC team next to South Carolina. They finished with the most wins in that new conference in the regular season. They lost to the eventual playoff champions, number 9 seed South Carolina, 5-3, but they beat them the week prior, 7-3. Some highlights for Georgia's year is that they beat Michigan State at home, they split with USC, and they took down the ACC-HL champion Virginia Tech Hokies, who are the 14th seed in this playoff. By all means, they deserve to be in this field. They're led by senior goaltender Isaac Haugen. College Hockey South fans, if you follow this team, know very well. He was the SEC goaltender of the year this season with a 13-5, 2-1 record, 2.86 goals against average, 0.9 percentage. The numbers speak for themselves. They have a brick wall, and that's who Danny Griffin and some others are going to have to get past in order to win this first round game. They're led by Ryan Bailey, 26 games this year, 39 points. Declan Conway, Truman Haugen, his brother. They have 10 seniors on this Georgia team. That sounds a lot like what Tampa is. This is a senior against senior. You have to imagine emotions are going to be high on either side. You said the penalty box, but who are you looking to get going in this game?
One guy that's not on, he hasn't had a great season, but man, was he a spark plug down the stretch for Tampa last year. Nick Fontaine, I think he might be at like half a point a game this year. Hasn't been pretty, but he's got incredible speed. He has finish to his game. He just hasn't had it this year. If he can find that, man, that creates a depth problem. Well, a good depth problem for Tampa and just any team that tries to defend them because they're certainly going to need it without Moeller in the lineup.
Also, I think what is going for Tampa is that they are a playoff-built team. They have won their last postseason games, both College Hockey South and AAU Nationals. Of course, they won the men's Division I title in the other league a season ago. So if they are able to win this game, which would be big, they've lost 3 of their last 4 coming in against CHS opponents, they would play the second highest remaining seed for then a trip to nationals. We're going to repeat that to you, but it's just 2 games, Saturday and Sunday. That's all you need to get to St. Louis. And Tampa, last time they were there, they were a pretty competitive program, but they've got bigger ambitions as a high seed in this tournament. So Tampa versus Georgia to start the day early, 9 a.m. Eastern on Saturday on Flow Hockey. Subscribe now at www.flowhockey.tv. Afterwards, a little bit later in the day, you're going to have Florida Atlantic as the number 4 seed taking on number 13, Miami of Ohio, 3 p.m. Eastern, Queen City Sportsplex. So, Florida Atlantic, kind of a weird year in the middle. The second half, they have gotten it going. They have now, at this point, have 4 straight wins. Farmingdale State, comeback fashion, got the dub in overtime for a split there. Tampa, they won 2 out of 3 2 weekends ago and finished up against UCF in a really competitive series. But Miami, Ohio might just be an opponent like they have not seen in quite a while. This is the runner-up in the Tri-States Collegiate Hockey League. They lost to number 3 Ohio 6-2. And while that score looks very vast, They were the first team to beat Ohio State in a long time, since basically September, and they did it convincingly, 7-3. This is also the same Miami, Ohio team that was a national championship runner-up 2 seasons ago, and last year they lost to that number 3 Ohio team on the last day of regionals. They have a lot to play for. They've got a lot of veteran guys. Eric Miller has 36 points on the year, mostly assists. John Fratto is also one to watch, 13 goals, 11 apples. And Tyler Bell at their blue line is one of the best in their conference. I believe he's first team all TSCHL. That's going to be a thing to watch. The story here, I think you alluded to it, Danny, but the penalty minutes. Miami, Ohio has 313 penalty minutes. Now, that still seems like a lot, but when you compare that to 500 plus for Florida Atlantic, that tells the story a bit there.
Yeah, it's not sustainable, especially in this kind of environment where it's, you lose, you go home, which is the case, right? Like we can, hold on, break the fourth wall for a second. If they lose on Saturday, you just pack up and go home because you're not advancing, right? Okay, all right. Just wanted to make sure I
Yep.
understood it. All right. Yeah, definitely not conducive to this kind of environment. And say you're a team that turns the ball over a lot in college basketball and March Madness, like you're playing a dangerous game, and this is obviously going to be a tough opponent. Almost like these seeds could be flipped. Like it could be number 13 FAU against number 4 Miami, Ohio. That's neither here nor there. I think FAU can win this game for sure. They're just going to need the best out of their best players, without a doubt. Brocco's had a tough spring semester. His numbers aren't as gaudy as they were to end the fall, but he's going to have to be his best. He's going to have to be the type of goalie he was at Nationals last year, and the top scorers of FAU are going to have to be the top scorers.
Yeah, Jackson Neuendijk, since he joined the team 4 games in, been lining it up. I think he's 2 behind the lead in the team points, behind Brady Bezier, Player of the Year candidate. They do have the ability to do this game, but I think they go as far as their top guys go. Leon Biller, Jake Murphy, Neuendijk. They're going to need their blue line to be really good. Nick Oliverio had a physical series against UCF, and their ace is usually Rocco Bruno. And I think College Hockey South fans can have faith that he is, when it comes to playoffs, the best goaltender in the conference. He was at AAU M2 last year. I think we're due for a Rocco Bruno prime performance here. Catch this game at 3 p.m. Eastern on Flow Hockey. It's going to be a great one. And, if FAU wins, they would be playing the 4th highest seed remaining on day 2. And that can go any which way. I mean, there's so many good matchups. Virginia Tech, Ohio, Rowan, Penn State. There's just so much unpredictability with this Southeast region. But the final game to preview, number 12, Florida, with number 5, Ohio State, to close out day 1 on Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern, same venue, Queen City Sportsplex. Now, Florida, one of the teams that coming into the season, I feel like we were talking about Tampa and FAU, and maybe Florida would compete, but they wouldn't be in the spot they are. They not only fought their way into this regional field, but they did it in convincing fashion. Wins over Boston College, a 9-8 barn burner. They beat Tampa, Florida Atlantic. They're winning 5 straight, and they're led by Sully Schweers, who is on a tear right now. 9 goals in his last 4 games, and points put up with 2 this season. Liam Nicolashois, Michael McCoy, Brian Pine, you name it, they have shown up, and credit to Frank Pasquale for getting these guys ready.
Ohio State, Penn State, Florida State, Gators in 5. Gators in 5, Devin. Let the good times roll for Florida. I mean, we've talked about some of the, like Tampa and Alabama women's, South Carolina M3s stumbling down the stretch. They're feeling themselves. They're feeling like, hey, we could do this freaking thing. I mean, I would imagine beating a lot of good teams, competitive. They're snapping around back there, getting a lot of scoring. A lot of their guys have been our stars of the week, putting up gaudy numbers. So I'm sure the belief is really high. But they're going against a team that's hasn't lost many games this year, so I'm sure the belief is there in their locker room as well. So hey, they're going to have a mountain to climb, because as a lower seed, if they do win, they're going to face a pretty dang high seed the next day, which could end up being Tampa. It could end up being Gulf Coast. It could be, I apologize, who's number 3? Is it Ohio?
It is.
Yeah, so it could be one of those teams. So you know what, Florida, maybe you go in there like, hey, we're the underdogs. Let's just do us. Let's win this game. Forget about tomorrow. Let's win today.
And to win on this day, they're going to have their best at their best. Ohio State is having their best record in program history. This is a group that's only made nationals once, all the way back in 2022. It's all the way back, 4 years ago. Not too much time. But they're in a competitive TSCHL, and they were upset by Miami, Ohio, that we alluded to earlier, 7-3 in the TSCHL semifinal. That was their first loss since they lost to, I think it was Ohio, way back at the start of the season. And in the regular season, I mean, they've been rolling. Matteo Machino, through 20 games this year, has 41 points, 25 goals, 16 apples. Special teams have been his forte, though. 4 power play goals, and he matches that in short-handed goals. Not the kind of guy you want to see on the penalty kill. Florida is going to have to batten down the hatches at their blue line. They're also led up with Matthew Dabrowski, 38 points in 22 games, and their stalwart defenseman is Tyler Gaffney, 24 games, 26 points. He is their distributor, their quarterback at the blue line. So in order for Florida to win this, I feel like they have got to play with an east to west game. They have to get this defense moving for the Buckeyes. And really, if Sully Schweers can have a run like he's having now when he can put up multiple points, it's going to be close at the end, and they'll have a chance to get a nail biter through. Now, Danny mentioned they might have to play a really good team. You can only focus on day one. They might be the sneakiest, best underdog next to Georgia, no pun intended, being a bulldog or whatever, when they play Tampa. And let's certainly hope the College Hockey South teams all make it through. But, Danny, in just an honest assessment, who is your favorite to win 2 games and make it to nationals?
It feels like the easiest answer is just to say Tampa, but yeah, I mean, that's who I would. If I had to go to Vegas right now, and I'm not a betting man, Devin, I wouldn't bet on this either, but I would have to say Tampa because of their experience. They have a lot of the players from last year's team that ran through playoffs and then won the national championship. They know what these kind of games are like, what the atmosphere is like, what it takes to win. And so I have a feeling that they'll be able to snap into gear and cut it out with the unnecessary penalties and the stuff in between whistles and play the right kind of hockey to win a couple of games in Cincinnati.
I like that pick too. I'm going to go with Florida Atlantic, though. And here's why. Florida Atlantic has this ability to turn it on when they are behind. They have won in comeback fashion in games they've needed to. Farmingdale State, UCF come to mind. And I just feel like they finally have Christian Cuccio going. M3 Player of the Year last year. He completely adds, Cooch. He adds an X factor of his own, HS All-Star. Where FAU gets in trouble is their penalties. And if they can find a way to just play a straight up game for game, they can go pound for pound with this Ohio State team that, while it has a good top 6, I think Florida Atlantic matches that. I would suspect that if they do win, and this is just going to be like me throwing, just darts out there. I think they could play a team like Tennessee, saying they can upset a team like Indiana, or play Rowan, who's been really good down the stretch, who's playing number 7 Penn State. Remember, they're going to play the 4th highest seed remaining, meaning that they would technically play, the weakest team left. But it's more about the number and the seeding. And that's why it was so important that they got up to the 4 seed, climbing 7 spots in the final rankings. Just a really interesting point there. And yeah, you've got Tampa, I've got Florida Atlantic. Let us know, in the comments or on Instagram or wherever you listen to this, who your pick is to make it through. And,
we know who Gavin's
hope you can watch all those games. Well, yeah, obviously the Florida Southern Moccasins. No, I'm kidding. I mean, yeah, come on. We can all pick a team. I think we're all rooting for the same thing here. Like, it's okay to say that. Yeah, each of them can make it. And not to mention, we still have playoffs for all 3 teams, regardless of what happens. That's going to be a different discussion in next week's playoff preview episode. So good luck to all of the teams, and safe travels to the parents, family, supporters if you're heading up to Queen City, Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio, and watching wherever you are around the country and abroad. While it is about the M2 teams this week, there are some other matchups going on. We finally get a Palmetto Cup with South Carolina M3 and Clemson M3. No impact on CHS playoff at all, but it's their first meeting of the season. And, Danny, I do believe that it still matters in the rankings in a grand scheme of things.
In the grand scheme of things, yeah. For playoff positioning, because the rankings will already be locked in. Also, Clemson, important to say, Clemson isn't eligible for nationals, but if they just absolutely put the belt to South Carolina, that would really hurt South Carolina's chances of making the top 16. Because you have to imagine it's going to take a hit, even though they beat MTSU, which they should be rewarded for. they also got beat up pretty good in North Atlanta by those Owls, hooty hoo. But I really look at this and also the South Carolina and Clemson women's game, where it's like, man, nothing good can come out of this. It's just like a couple of rivals that are going to beat the hell out of each other, and I hope there's no DQs or anything like that that's going to affect the first round playoff games. But it's exciting because this is another first time ever matchup. First time ever this iteration of South Carolina is going to play Clemson, and yeah, it should be a pretty intense atmosphere at Flight Adventure Park in Irmo.
You referred to the women's matchup. We saw a near comeback complete for Clemson in that game of the week. And South Carolina, Alyssa Nardslico talked about how tight that room is. And I think that's what really matters when you get to this time of the year. They're going to be a team to watch out for, whoever plays them in the first and second rounds. But yeah, you definitely want to see both Palmetto Cups just competitive. It's going to be what it is. No DQs, nobody having to miss time would be ideal.
Please.
Yeah, just it's just not worth it. But we
Keep
don't
your gloves
we
and
don't hold the
helmets on,
cards. It's up to the
please.
teams. It is pretty
Devin-
easy to get a game suspension. So
Devin sent me a picture. It was at some point, I guess it was on Friday night, the Tampa and FAU series. He sent me just a picture of the screen, and every single player in the frame didn't have either glove on or their helmet. It's like, all right, well, I'll see you. You're gone. I don't know what to say. Like, you make the referee's job pretty easy at that point.
Oh yeah, the Lynn and FAU game just got totally Donnybrooked at the very, very, very end. We thought we were going to skate away fine. It was already like 12:30 in the morning, and one player just grabbed another's jersey. I think there was like a slash in there, and then just they all come off the bench. Just last, word of the season, say to this guy, to that guy, whatever, settle your scores. It was nuts. Probably not the way that either team leadership wise wanted to go out with, but it's how it goes. It's what you're going to get in a rivalry. So expect some good Palmetto Cups there. And the only other game really to preview is Georgia woman taking on Florida State. First meeting in CHS history with these teams. And Georgia, I believe, is getting ready for their tournament in Jacksonville. So they've got something to play for here, it seems, Danny.
Yep. And they also play Tampa in the first round of the CHS playoffs. That's going to be a mountain to climb. Yeah, that I think that would be the earth-shattering upset of the first round. That would be a 16 seed beating a 1 seed in March Madness. That would be David versus Goliath. I don't know how many other analogies you want me to use, but I could keep going if you want. I'll save everyone's time here.
I'm going to give Georgia bulletin board material. This is about a 99% win rate for Tampa. There is a less than 1% chance maybe for Georgia. And I don't mean to say that as like a put down. It's just, if you've watched Tampa, they are that good. Hope Georgia can walk out of this series with a dub, and hopefully it's competitive for both sides there. So for women's games, still stuff to go on. But I guess, Danny, we'll leave it with this. And if you're listening to this on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the Olympics have wrapped up or are going to be wrapping up. So, do you have any plans to go see a watch party for the semifinal? And if they get there, the final, or, what's kind of your vantage point of the Olympic scene?
Well, that'll still be in the middle of the workday on Friday. I don't think so.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's a little tough,
Fortunate.
these Winter Olympics in Europe. I remember one of my teachers put on the Winter Olympics in 2014 when the US was playing. I forget which game it was, but it wasn't the Russian one with TJ Oshie. But yeah, I'll find a way to keep track of it. It's been busy and a stressful week, so I don't know, but I'll figure a way. I'll be wearing Johnny Gaudreau once again. Rest in peace, the late great Johnny Gaudreau. Also, I want to mention this. This happened a couple weeks ago. I do not know maybe you do, Devin, the name of the Indiana players. There was an incident at their conference playoffs, and there was a tragic thing that happened, and I don't have all the details, but I know there was some sort of death in the family, and we feel horrible about that. It made us all sick to our stomachs, and we send our thoughts out to him. That was just horrible to hear. Hopefully the team has his back, and he's with his family, and just best wishes.
Yeah, prayers for the family of Jake Rock, and Jake being the son, I believe it was his dad that unfortunately passed away at a TSCHL playoff game between Indiana and Denison. And, our hearts go out to that. And also to the community in Rhode Island for the recent shooting that went on at a high school game. That's just unfathomable how a tragedy like that can occur at a community event like that. Just not great. Our thoughts and prayers are with the people there in Rhode Island and the Indiana program. It's been a good week for, the Olympics and all of these, but at the end of the day, hockey is a family, the community, and you never want to see that on all fronts. And, just our thoughts are with all those involved in both incidents. So on a positive note, we hope that you all can get ready for playoffs this weekend and you enjoy the MT regionals that are going on in Ohio, if you're watching those elsewhere, and safe travels to all the players and coaches and stuff. It's a big task. It's not without us understanding that it takes a village. You have to have donors. Most people are volunteering, just teams are fundraising. Good luck to everybody involved. Should be a fun one to follow. And next week, we'll have the official College Hockey South playoff preview, breaking down all 4 divisions for you right here on College Hockey Mouth. So for Denny Bohm, Alyssa Nardslico, our guest, my name is Devin Serra. Thanks so much for watching episode 26 of College Hockey Mouth, a College Hockey South series. Talk to you next week.